All right, everybody, welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at John Marshall and the Supreme Court, and basically what establishes the Supreme Court as an equal branch of the government compared to the president or the executive branch and the Congress, the legislative branch. So we will be looking at John Marshall especially. He perhaps is one of the most influential Supreme Court justices to have ever served in the Supreme Court. So we're going to be taking a look at three important cases, three of the most important cases that he saw over. So, and the legal precedents that they are going to establish are going to strengthen the role of the Supreme Court as an equal branch. And by precedent, I mean they set legal examples for all court cases afterward to follow. That is a precedent. So beginning, we're going to take a look at Marbury versus Madison from 1803. This deals with the transition of power from John Adams, the second president of the United States, to Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. So when Adams is leaving office, like basically figure the night before, he is going to basically try to assert Federalist control over the judicial branch. So remember the Federalists, like the guys who were supporting the Constitution, he's trying to basically pack the court or put in a whole bunch of judges there that have similar allegiance to like he did, like George Washington did, people like that. Jefferson was not a Federalist. He was in one of the anti-Federalists. So Adams is trying to get a shot in on Jefferson when he leaves the office of president. So to also help set the grounds for this case, we have the Judiciary Act of 1801. It's going to create 16 new federal judge positions. Adams approves appointments during the last days of his presidency. It's like the last day he's president, and he's signing all of these guys into their positions. So they get the nickname the Midnight Judges because, sneaking them in at the last minute when no one can stop them type of deal. All right. So one guy in particular named William Marbury, he is one of these midnight judges. He is given the position of judge in Washington, D.C. But when Jefferson takes the presidency and is now the president, his Secretary of State, James Madison, a future president himself, they are going to refuse to allow Marbury to be that judge. They're not going to basically deliver him the paperwork that President Adams had signed. Marbury refuses to back down, and the court in this case goes all the way to the Supreme Court. All right. So John Marshall's court, and a little background on him, he's a Federalist, and he took part on over 500 different court cases. He was a very busy guy. Now, the Marbury versus Madison ruling. Marbury is going to decide to have the right to the judge position that he was granted by President Adams. So Jefferson and Madison, they had no right to withhold his job from him. Number two, the Supreme Court only could hear cases after they were appealed. So it has to go from like local, state level, then to federal level, and then to the Supreme Court. Right? And it also is going to declare part of the Judiciary Act of 1789 as illegal, unconstitutional. It does not follow the law of the Constitution. It is also going to establish the principle of judicial review. This is a term you need to know, judicial review. Marbury v. Madison gives us judicial review, the right of the federal court, the Supreme Court, to have the power to declare laws as constitutional or unconstitutional, to be legal by our laws as a country or illegal. Now, our second court case is McCulloch versus Maryland. This is a court case over the Second National Bank. So basically like a federal banking system. Now, the state of Maryland is going to try to destroy the national bank by taxing it to protect the state banks. So we have a state who's trying to tax a federal bureau, a federal agency. That's what's happening. The national bank is refusing to pay those taxes because they don't feel they should have to, and they are going to sue the state of Maryland because Maryland is trying to sue them out of existence, basically. So what's going to happen? Is the bank constitutional? Is Maryland able to have the right to tax it? What is decided by Justice Marshall is that the bank is constitutional. You know, the federal government has the right to establish a national bank. And he also is going to declare that Maryland, a state, does not have the right to tax a national federal agency. And so, you know, the power to tax is the power to destroy. That is a phrase that's going to come from this court case. So it's going to set a precedent not only that states can't tax the federal government, but also you can't have taxes so high that it just destroys everything. All right, third and last case, Gibbons versus Ogden. This is also known as the steamboat case because it deals with steamboat ships and them doing trade business, shipping business between New York and New Jersey. The state of New York is attempting to basically give a monopoly of trade between New York and New Jersey to this one company. And the federal government is trying to do it with another person. So they basically are going to start suing each other over who has the right to this contract, a very lucrative, like money-making contract of trade between New Jersey and New York. So what the Marshall Court is going to decide is that only Congress and the federal government have the ability to govern interstate commerce. New York does not have the right to state who and who cannot conduct trade between its own state and another state. They can't control what another state does. There has to be an agreement between the two, or the federal government has jurisdiction. So this is going to weaken states' rights and strengthen the rights of the federal government, saying like they can declare who can and cannot do business in this fashion, going from one state to another. All right, so what you need to take away is the decisions of John Marshall's court helped you strengthen the power of the national government and also define the judiciary or the Supreme Court as an equal branch of government. Right, that is where we are ending today. Please be sure to come back next time where we will continue Virginia and U.S. history.